Hey friends, welcome to the video. Did you know you can slide cancel in Destiny 2? That's what a slide normally looks like. If you play the Stasis Titan, Stasis subclass, you get an extended slide after sprinting for a short bit. This is what it looks like to try to jump out of that. Very slow, very rigid. But if you hit the sprint button during the slide, it allows you to cancel the slide and then jump out of it, thus conserving that momentum. Keep in mind you have to be using a long-barreled two-handed weapon. SMGs and sidearms and last word does not work with this. Has to be like DMT, BXR Battler, a shotgun, etc. Things like that. Anyway, you can make this slide more useful if you chain scroll wheel skating out of the slide cancel. It'll just slingshot you and you can build up a lot of momentum and completely drive by people. But what if I told you Warlock also has a slide cancel? By equipping Incinerator Snap and using your super button instead of your melee when your super is uncharged, this allows you to cancel the slide momentum and conserve the jump movement. So, as you can see by the background footage, Icarus dashing after a slide is pretty slow, but if you do this slide cancel, you can immediately Icarus dash and change directions rapidly. Unlike Stasis Titan, you don't have to have a particular weapon animation to do this. It doesn't need to be a two-handed long barrel. But you do need to be on mouse and keyboard. I don't think this works on controller, but let me know in the comment section if it does. So now that the tutorial's done, let me tell you why this is useful. It allows you to be very non-committal and agile, meaning you can rapidly get up to max speed changing directions. On Titan, less so, but you do have your melee to change the direction, which you can then chain your slide momentum again. The reason I wanted to make today's video is to compare Titan and Warlock apples to oranges, because in Destiny 2, let's say I'm having a Titan play session, I'm trying to use SMGs, but it gives me a giant map like Disjunction. It's not like I can just switch characters mid-match, so I have to make a long-range build work on my Titan, and one that has some meaningful trade-offs is using the Lion Rampant exotic boots to maintain aerial effectiveness while in the air with hipfire. But this creates a whole host of problems that I'll get into as we continue this video. But now I want to talk about Dawnblade. Dawnblade, which I'm going to call Top Tree Dawnblade for the rest of this video because the playstyle is essentially the same, it got a lot of upgrades in the 3.0 system and a couple downgrades in the form of the aerial effectiveness system. Now that's kind of a hot topic in the community, so I'm going to get into it now. Airborne effectiveness, known as AE, is a system implemented to make a trade-off to jumping in the air. And I did say trade-off because we can do some things that we couldn't do before, but there's a lot that we can't do now. So what couldn't we do before? Build exotic weapons to have perfect in-air accuracy, not aim-assisted. It's a big difference there. Gotta be very specific with how we talk about these definitions. If a gun is accurate and I have the crosshair on their forehead, it's going to register a yellow number. But now if I aim at the health bar at, let's say, the perfect distance for the weapon, it bends the bullet to the head. In the air, that bullet is not going to be aim assisted as much, so the bullet might not bend to the head, even though on the ground it would have counted as a yellow number. Let me be abundantly clear that I'm not blindly defending AE. We do know that it's an unfinished system. A lot of old weapons have low AE stats. You can't even build into it with some specific weapons. And you can't even build into a meaningful number in most cases. You might as well not jump at all, which is what most people's problem is. And if you ask me, if I knew it was going to take this long for AE to get to a reasonable state, I would have said, okay, then just don't launch AE until it's ready to be in a reasonable state. Just nerf the movement exotics individually, which I think is what stemmed this system to be created in the first place. So now that I've said that disclaimer, let's talk about the emergence of a kind of gamer that is being referred to now as the movement kid. If you like fast-paced arena shooters with fluid movement, and you see this slide cancel in Destiny 2 and immediately want to apply it to your own game, that probably means you're a movement kid. And I am one, but mostly out of necessity to compete, not because I think it's the most skillful option. Notice my choice of words here. I did not say it took no skill, I did not call it skill-less. I feel that this misunderstanding is what has created a lot of animosity between myself and other players in the Destiny 2 community, where they might have seen a video of mine or heard an offhand comment on a stream or something and just immediately think I'm hating on movement because I'm not. An FPS game is more than just movement. What I'm hating on is imbalanced application of that movement. It doesn't make any sense with the time to kill, the speed of recovery, the map design, the ease of achieving that time to kill, whether it's bullet bending or a crit to body shot ratio, maybe obnoxious abilities, melee lunge, etc. This all has to work in harmony to have the movement shine. When any of this is out of whack, what happens is that movement creates an unpredictable situation where you can't walk away from the result of the game knowing what you had to do better to improve. That kind of goes hand in hand with an earlier opinion of mine in Destiny 2 that also attracted a lot of animosity and is probably still why people hate me to this day. I preferred slower time to kill in first-person shooters because the reality of networking is that there's going to be some lag, some buffer, and so longer time to kill when balanced with the movement speed and recovery speed with the objective placement in mind, it allows you to outgun your opponent that much more consistently. It allows you to teamwork your opponent that much more consistently. Because when you can fly in from an unpredictable angle and hit an instant kill, it's very hard to relay exactly where you went wrong. Let me rewind for a second and remind you that I do still think that fast TTK movement reaction-based games are skillful. I just think if you were doing a best of 100 with a similarly skilled opponent, one system is going to show a more consistent result than the other. Which is exactly why I have the results to prove it. In Bungie's own words, they know that the early seasons of Destiny 2 was the most balanced and skillful era of Destiny. Whether you agree or not, that's what they think. And the results from that time was I went entire weekends of playing the game in comp and trials, etc. without dropping a single match in the heaviest SBMM we've ever had. So not that I want to give any haters specific attention, but when it comes to talking about the game, a lot of people discredit me entirely because I'll lose an odd match while I play casually against somebody. And the reason I'll lose that match, even playing casually, is because the game isn't balanced. So there's kind of like, why even put in that much effort if it's not balanced to begin with? Why not just have fun and go for a wild clip or something like that? And so they'll take that result, me losing in the imbalanced state, to say, oh, I shouldn't have an opinion on this or have a YouTube channel or have an audience or anything like that, when that just doesn't make sense. And that's not to say I think I'm the best or I think I can always be unbeatable or something like that. I lose to a lot of very talented players. What I want to make abundantly clear is to random shit talker 67 in the comment section, I play this game as a content creator and not a competitor. I learn obscure things in the game because it's fun. I make wild builds because it's fun. It ends up making me a pretty versatile player, which I think is more impactful in the way I provide feedback than just simply winning more often. If I took like a 70% win rate and took it to like a 95 to 100% win rate, I don't think that really helps my case here if I'm using the hardest meta all the time, using the most scum tactics available. Like, imagine if in the Rumble match, I'm just like sword hilting the entire time and not peeking unless they're shooting somebody else. What if I just use Terrava nonstop to up my win rate? What I'm really trying to get at is that when the game is imbalanced, you beating me, or me beating you, or you beating someone else doesn't mean shit. What really matters is, did you have fun? Did you have fun running into a wall in the corner of a map, avoiding every gunfight just to charge Chaos Reach so you could slightly win better? Did you have fun? Please be a triple, please be a triple.
All going land, all there.
I didn't think we were going.
Oh, it's a guy, got him!
Oh, we got him! Oh, Joel!
Now the build I'm finding most fun lately, this is my casual build, is Arc Warlock with Flux Grenade. Even though it's so ineffective, it's insulting. The true definition of fun in Destiny, in my opinion, is that if you go for something 100 times in a row, and 99 times it has a chance to fail, but the one time it succeeds outweighs all the other times it failed, then it's truly a fun loadout. And that is Arc Warlock for me. The saddest part about Flux Grenade is that if there's an overshield or something, like a Titan throws a barricade, they survive getting stuck. And I can't tell you how many times I hit a Titan with a Flux Grenade, barricade goes up, they live, and it denies me like potentially a 7th column. And I want to uninstall because of that, but not really. But then the one time it does happen, made all those other times it failed absolutely worth it. That's fun. So it sounds like I'm going on a mega tangent, but I promise you it's all going to tie back together. I just really wanted to tangent off and say that there are a lot of high skill players in this game. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. At the end of the day, you should be trying to have fun. And just because there is skill in movement and there is skill in FPS fundamentals, they don't necessarily outweigh each other. It just depends on the person you're talking to. It is straight up just an opinion. And if you don't understand that, you might as well click out of the video. So now tying it back together. AE system, Stasis Titan with Lion Rampant, Top Tree Dawnblade. These used to be not only some of the most competitive builds, but also some of the most fun builds. And as of late, I find myself not finding that 1 out of 100 times it works to be worth the other 99 times it doesn't. Because, like, truthfully, I feel cheated out of a lot of engagements where I make a heads-up play, I have the aim to back it up, and it just doesn't go through. It's either I get flinched off, the hip fire accuracy penalty is too bad, the aerial penalty is too bad, they melee teleport lunge, got saved. Y'all saw how bad that could have been. The time to kill is too fast with SMGs and sidearms for the effort required to use them. And the weapons that do work with hipfire and with high AE typically have too steep of a trade-off to compete with an SMG or a sidearm on the ground. So even though I am hard outskilling my opponent, I'm not winning sometimes, and that doesn't feel good. Obviously, when all the movement and aim comes together and it does go your way, it does feel good, but it doesn't outweigh those times that you feel cheated out of the gunfight. Like some of these clips in the background, you're gonna see it's an aerial build that is getting results. I'm slingshotting my way into gunfights. I'm showing up at unpredictable angles. I'm able to redirect my movement with the melee. Exactly what I showed you at the beginning of the video. Look, slide, peeker's advantage into the kill clip out BR. Now the next one, he jumps, I jump, did not expect me to jump. Next, pre-aim. Slightly missed on that one, but that's okay. Snap, acquire with kill clip, it was worth it. Now I have another kill clip chained. Slingshot my way into yet another out BR. The whole reason I wanted to make this video is basically to say, you could do all that on Titan, or you could just play Warlock. And it is so much better on Warlock. You barely even have to make any trade-offs because it gets to just eat its grenade. BR with steady rounds and Icarus grip 32. Then you eat the grenade plus 70. Now it's 102. So it is perfect in-air accuracy. And so in this case, if you do have the aim to back it up, you are going to see yellows. And you will see some yellows. Unlike Titan, which it can see yellows. But what Bungie probably doesn't take into account in this current iteration is that I'm hip firing, so there's an accuracy penalty. Then also I take flinch even though I'm spec'd into the highest stability I can possibly get and the highest resilience I can possibly get. And even if all of that goes right, I don't get flinched, I hit my shots, they can still out TTK me at some crazy ranges with submachine gun or with sidearm, or just ignore all that, slide forward and melee me. Even if I have good aim, I'm not Nostradamus, I can't predict the future here. In regards to melee lunge and whatnot. And also, they could also just be using a special weapon like a shotgun or a sniper. I do everything right and still just get one hit. Fusion rifles are probably the biggest offender of this. If you'll humor me for a second to go on the side tangent of flinch, I really do want to uninstall the game sometimes if I match Ace of Spades too much in a row or Lemon Arc too much in a row. Ace of Spades is the anti-primary primary. The amount of flinch I receive for choosing to duel them, and I do say choosing, because I can win a different way. I can just sit in the back and charge my super and still win the match that way. But I want to get in gunfights in the first-person shooter. Yeah, Ace of Spades makes me really dislike playing this game. So now, off tangent, let's put everything together. Think of me, the FPS fundamentalist, with the movement kid. We're shaking our muscular hands. We're agreeing on something. And that thing that we're agreeing on is that Bungie should not be afraid of skill gaps. If there's truly SBMM and a ranked ladder, we'll deal with that in our own respective brackets. If I have to choose between SBMM or a watered-down Destiny experience, I'll take the SBMM, assuming that connections don't go to shit. And here's what I mean when I say watered-down Destiny experience. Why is there so much flinch? Why is there screen shake? Why do special weapons not receive as much flinch? Why do I take out a fucking loan on this airborne effectiveness system tank my entire build just to shoot yellow numbers in the air, and then have the map design say, oh, you can't go there, you're jumping slightly too high. I'm not jumping slightly too high. I'm just jumping in the map, and there's an invisible barrier telling me I can't jump. Or, I hit the floor too hard, and then it shakes my screen all over the place because I'm using an aerial build, and that's what happens when you use an aerial build. It doesn't make any sense if we're going to be having SBMM and ranked in the future. A lot of these things that hinder a skill gap need to go. That is what I wanted to make today's video on. I already referenced it a couple times in this video, but melee lunge is another one of those. It's sliding with the crab walk into the melee lunge teleport. One of the most unfun aspects of Destiny 2 on both the receiving end and in me actually doing it, because I know what my opponent's seeing on their screen. And the thing is, they aren't seeing anything. I'm teleporting everywhere. So if Arc 3.0 was supposed to be speed and melee abilities and things like that, well then the whole game should have been slowed down to a point where it meets the realistic expectations of the network and not whatever they see in the playtest. Just my opinion. Oh, and it grinds my gears too when people try to defend Ophidian aspects just because Warlocks as a whole aren't good. I know that they're crutching the melee lunge, but the melee lunge creates inconsistent experiences across the board, so they should take it back universally. Ophidians can do something else. Give them more AE, give them more handling, give them more reload. Take away the inconsistent part. So now let's boil this video down into the ultimate point, which is the AE system exists. I spec into it because I value hitting yellow numbers in the air, because being able to make unpredictable plays is very, very valuable. But even then, there's inconsistencies created to make this artificial skill gap that seem kind of counterproductive to an AE system existing in the first place. Like, I am choosing to tank my build to be able to make these high skill plays, and yet there's still arbitrary systems of flinch, screen shake, melee teleportation, and gimmick builds that completely override doing everything right and being more skilled than your opponent. That's the part that needs to go. And I hope that in the Strand era of Destiny 2, Bungie takes strides towards making that a reality. I hope you found this rant thought-provoking. I should have turned this into a PowerPoint. I started doing that format because I found out that a lot of my most heated commenters don't actually listen to the video. I know, surprising. And it really does help to keep people on track with the ultimate point of a video. Not that I personally do the best job myself, but also just in case somebody missed it, if you like movement in a game, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's still a skill-intensive thing. I just value a different skill set. I don't know if I had to say that for the third time, but I think I had to say that for the third time. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one.